Support for Docs Outside the Box comes from Set for Life Insurance. Set for Life means set for less. Their clients get access to the largest portfolio of discounts and unisex rates available nationwide. Check them out at setforlifeinsurance.com and tell them Dr. Darko sent you.
Welcome to Docs Outside the Box podcast. This is your official show, looking inside the minds of cutting-edge and innovative doctors. Think you'll find these stories in any medical textbook? Sorry. You're getting real live insight from men and women pushing the envelope beyond medicine. Ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. Let's start now with your host, Dr. Nina Darko.
Hey docs, are you looking to learn how to become a physician leader? Then Physician CEO is for you. Physician CEO is an accelerated business immersion program designed for physicians and developed by MBA faculty from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. So learn more at www.physician-ceo.com/DOTB. What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Docs Outside the Box. I'm your host, Dr. Nina Darko. I am here in Ghana with family for work and play. It's a great opportunity for my son, who's only 16 months, as well as my wife, to meet my side of the family, literally across the pond. It's been a great opportunity so far. The weather's been awesome, not too hot, not too cold, not too humid. Also, I got to give a shout out to my wife, literally thinking about everything, and has a whole system on how to manage bottles, diapers, clothing for my son, the whole nine. And can't front, she really is the true MVP of this trip. I'm also here with the International Healthcare Volunteers, IHCV. If you're interested in doing medical humanitarian work, this organization is for you, and they really could use your help. We've already started looking for volunteers for the 2019 trip. From internal medicine to surgeons to CRNAs, all comers are welcome. So please, I left a link in the show notes. Make sure you check it out. This episode, we got two guests for you. I got doctors Amber Robins as well as Nina Luma, and they are 2 out of the 20 authors for this next book we're going to be talking about. It's a really great book that recently came out called The Chronicles of Women in White Coats. And as you can tell, it's an anthology book that features women physicians from many walks of life from all across the United States who are sharing their wins, their struggles, trials, as well as tribulations on managing being a woman, as well as all that comes along while donning the white coat. I've read the book. It's definitely a big recommend to you all, as well as all of you men who are included. You also all check out this book. So look, there are links to find out about where you can get this book in the show notes. But without further ado, let's get on with this interview. Doctors Amber Robins and Nina Luma, welcome to Docs Outside the Box. What's up? What's good? We got a lot to talk about today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a long time coming.
Yes, I've been waiting for this.
So we're here to talk about your book, The Chronicles of Women in White Coats, which is an awesome read. I'm almost finished with the book, but it's an anthology style book. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But I want to ask you all, just tell us briefly, before we get too much into the nitty gritty, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Dr. Amber Roberts, why don't you start it off?
Sure. So I'm a family medicine doctor living in the DC area now, and I graduated from the University of Rochester, and I went to residency there as well. And then I also graduated from Xavier University. I always have to mention that.
I think probably like 60% of the people I've interviewed on the show have been from Xavier. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, right. Strong network. But what I also have a passion for, in addition to HBCUs, I also have a passion for empowering other doctors and also in media. So I just recently finished my media fellowship, health and media fellowship at Georgetown University, where I was working at PBS NewsHour, writing for Huffington Post, working with the communications department, and doing a lot of different things and learning so much about what media is looking for and what doctors and healthcare professionals can provide. So I am up and going in DC and loving it.
Wow. Okay, and Dr. Nina Luma, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I am a family medicine hospitalist currently practicing in Kentucky. I graduated from the University of St. Eustatius in the Caribbean and moved on to train in family medicine at the University of Kentucky Rural Tract. I currently practice within hospital medicine and also within the patient quality and safety department at my facility. I'm very passionate about empowerment, particularly female empowerment, whether it be within medicine or outside of medicine. And with the current wave and talk around women in medicine, it was an honor to be a part of this project with Dr. Robins. And, you know, that's particularly our likeness along the lines of women empowerment. It was the drawing factor to be a part of this project.
Love it. Love it. Well, you guys together form a super combination. So let's talk about the Chronicles of Women in White Coats. First of all, when did this book come out?
Yeah, so it came out earlier this year. So we launched in May, and that's when we all came together in DC for the first time, meeting each other face to face for the first time. But it launched in May, and it's been doing really, really well. We've been getting a lot of great feedback about it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm almost finished with this book. This book is definitely an anthology version. So you have multiple authors. As a matter of fact, including you, Dr. Robins, there's 20 authors. Tell me, or we want to know why did you decide to go with an anthology version of this book?
Well, as you probably know, there are so many different stories of people in medicine, and we wanted to focus on what the woman in medicine actually experiences. And so for me, my experience is a single Black doctor in medicine, but there are also mothers in the book. We also have international graduates, which Dr. Luma talks about as well, her experience. We have so many different things about burnout, about all those different things. And one person doesn't experience it, but it doesn't mean that other people out there, basically it's more than one person experiencing different things. And so we wanted to really include all those different experiences, put it in a book, let people outside of our community in medicine and also those inside the community in medicine to really reflect on those things and let them know that they're not the only ones out there experiencing what's going on.
Right. I think for me as well, I agree with a lot of what Amber says, but you know, females now represent about, I think it's 50.7% of matriculants into medical school, which is up from, and that was 2017. So that's up from about, I think, 49%.
And it's going to continue to rise.
Right. So this book stands very well with that theme of representation matters, where some of the experiences that women have through medical education and training slightly differ from their male counterparts. I mean, we share a common denominator, that's true, but we all know the female and the male brains are very different, and we perceive certain things a lot differently. We have different roles outside of medicine as well that we may not necessarily share with our male counterparts. And so I feel like all these women coming together, they brought each a unique perspective, but then there was so much unison in those different perspectives to where just about anyone can relate. And I really think even men can relate to a lot of our stories as well.
Oh yeah, I found the stories, first of all, really compelling. There are a lot of different things that obviously as a man, it's not that I can't relate to it, but it's just, I don't see it. Right. So being able to read and being able to identify with that is something that's really powerful. So I think the stories are definitely something that everybody can relate to. Tell me, like, how did you go about finding all of these authors? Like what was the criteria? Are these people that you've known in the past, friends? Like, how did you get them all together?
Well, the answer is no, we did not know each other before we came together. And some people are really amazed by that. We literally came together for the book through Facebook groups. So Mocha Medicine, physician, entrepreneurs, different groups on Facebook. I literally posted and said, hey, who's interested in being in a project where we can talk about what happens when a woman puts on a white coat? And from that's where I got different women across the country coming and saying, hey, I want to be a part of that project. Tell me more about it. Us having one-on-one conversations about their different stories to see if their stories would fit really well in the book. And even those who may not have said, okay, I have a story, talking to them, coaching them, helping them see that, everyone has a story. And just because you're thinking that it's not, glitz and glamour, or this is something everyone experiences, as I said, we found out later on, we have so many people who experience different things, which are very similar to other people across the country. So the first time we met in person was in May in DC. And even then, we realized that there was something special about the book, something special about all the people in the book, because we just really gelled. And even now, we send messages to each other, checking on each other, talking about what's going on with the book, what we can do to really get out there to tell more people about what we're doing, because we believe the book is not just a book, it's a movement.
Go ahead, Dr. Nina.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I was in the comments section, I would say, on a physician entrepreneurial Facebook group when I saw Amber's message. And I mean, it was a no-brainer to click and want to be a part of it. And the desire to want to be a part of that was already ingrained. Mm-hmm. But I think what was really striking was every single woman that was commenting on that thread probably had wanted to do something like this, but didn't have that gusto to get it out. Because when I talked to a lot of the co-authors, they all had projects that they were working on, but never really got around to writing a book about it, though they had maybe thought about it. So I feel like this, what Amber sparked was she gave us that momentum to actually get it rolling. And it was sort of that power that you get from being in unison with so many other women that experience things that you may have wanted to express, but just never felt like it was valid enough. So I feel like that momentum really helped with what she sparked on all these several groups. But like I said, I met her on an entrepreneurial one.
So do you find, Dr. Robins, that you had to turn away some people?
Well, yeah, there are always some people that you do have to turn away, unfortunately. And then also some people who aren't ready. So you would get a lot of people who may be interested, but then when you actually say, okay, this is what we need to do, this is when we need the deadline, this is a deadline, this is a process, some people aren't ready for it. And so for those people who I did talk to, or people in the future who may be thinking about this, there's always a time for it. I'm sure there'll be another anthology that comes out, whether it be with me or with someone else, but again, you have to be ready. So mostly were the people who I had to turn away, the people who weren't ready for this, because we started in January and basically had the book compiled and done in April. And so we launched in May. So it was a quick process. So, yeah.
And I'm looking at the bottom. It says Robins Nest Media. Mm-hmm. Any relation to someone who's on this show right now? Is this your publishing company?
It is. It is a self-publishing company.
That's what's up. Talk more about that. Let's know about that.
Sure. So I published before this 3 other books. And so, again, I found a lot of authors who were interested in publishing and didn't know necessarily how to do it. And a lot of people, because my community is doctors, they were doctors saying, how do I do this? What are the steps to do this? Can you help me? And from there, with my strong interest in media, I said, okay, let's do this. I guess this is a business. And so along with me, I didn't mention, I also have an MBA. So along with me loving business and being able to give back to my own community, I said, let me just go ahead and start my own business. And so this is the beginning of it. And, in the future, I want to do more self-publishing. I want to do more coaching of healthcare professionals in getting into media, more writing, and then also hopefully even more producing medical shows and different things like that. So that's my long-term goal. But yes, this is A. Robins Nest LLC.
It's really impressive. And, I always say with the electronic media right now, with the way how things are going with the internet, like the gatekeepers are gone. So,
mm-hmm.
Probably 10, 15 years ago, you probably would have had to go through a publisher to get this done. The fact that you can do this on your own with your own company is really impressive. And I just want to ask you guys a question, because I know this question, though, is going to be like asking if you have children, like who's your favorite child and stuff. But what's, in terms of your chapters, this, obviously different chapters in here, what's which chapter, sticks out to you the most? And if you can give like a brief, quick synopsis, you don't have to do anything too in depth, but which one kind of stands out to you the most?
Do you want to go first, Nina?
I have 2 chapters, and it's really hard to pick.
Y'all can cheat and just say it's my own chapter,
It's really hard to pick, but I'll go. So, and Nia, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try to talk about both of them very, very briefly. Mm-hmm. So the first chapter, and what really stands out to me, is the concept of subconscious bias. And that is something that I've had to learn about. That's a hot topic now. It is. And that's something I've had to learn about and train my mind a lot differently, even in my practice, to be cognizant that we are all liable to some level of subconscious bias, implicit bias, however we want to call it. But that it's a game changer for everyone, whether you practice in medicine or outside of medicine, or even on the news and the media and sort of what you see now. There's a lot of that playing in the ways that we deal with human behavior. And so my first chapter talked about my perception of bias, whether as how it was inflicted upon me by maybe patients. I'm a young, Black, foreign medical doctor. And so I had encounters that were racially unpleasant. And so I shared a little bit about that. But then I realized that I too had some type of bias, particularly with maybe gender. And that's something that was new to me because I thought I was a female empowering guru, but come to realize that there was some preconceived notions that I had to take care of myself. So we're all liable. We all have to be cognizant. That's the message I'm putting out there. And in the second chapter, talked about, it's more personal, and it talks about my personal journey as an international medical graduate and sort of the cultural and social shock that I had to encounter to get into practicing medicine in the United States and how that ended up being a success factor for me. So those are two themes that you would see in the book alongside of the others.
And now a word from our sponsor. Understanding how to run a business in medicine will put you at a unique advantage in the future. Whether it's leading a hospital, practice, or starting a new venture, the Physician CEO program will put you in focus from day one. Physician CEO is an accelerated business immersion program developed by MBA faculty from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. The Physician CEO program provides an intensive MBA-style education made up of modules, with each module covering topics from leadership to entrepreneurial ventures. Because of their individualized structure, each participant leaves the program with their 1, 3, and even 5-year business plan, all designed to function in the real world. If you're a physician who is looking to start your own venture, lead your practice or department, or even start planning for succession out of medicine, then you can't afford to miss this opportunity. Class is filling up. Learn more at www.physician-hifin.com/DOTB. Dr. Robins?
I would say,
no pressure.
I think that all of the chapters are so unique in themselves that it's hard to say, this is my favorite one. I would say, our personal stories are the ones that really, really are riveting. One of the authors talks about her experience when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was a chapter I would say, it's a tearjerker. And then we also talk about a doctor who has lost her best friend, who's also, a colleague in medicine. We talk about how there are, what happens to do your first code? Oh my goodness, what do you do? Things like that. And we have stories of burnout. I mean, there's so many different stories. It just, honestly, I think my favorite chapter would depend on what season I'm in, because there are some times where I feel really tired. I feel really burnt out, right?
I like that point.
So those are the chapters that really speak to me. But then other times, I just want to say, go back to what my experience was in medical school and how, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed you were and trying to figure out which specialty you go in. So the author talks about that. Like, it just depends on where you are in your journey, in medicine, and even if you're outside of medicine, just kind of giving a reflection. I think this book also is good for those people who are just getting in, for parents. I'm thinking about that. My parents had no idea what medicine was like. So it honestly depends on where you are, who you are. And for me, where I am as a new attending, the stories talking about how it is being a new attending, what it's like walking in and people still thinking you're a nurse, or, like, oh, when is a doctor coming in? Stuff like that.
Has that happened to you?
Yeah, all the time.
Because there's a lot of people who feel that, my wife has experienced that. And, we all have certain things that we experience, and you just either internalize it or you just like, I can't believe that person did X, Y, and Z. Like, can you talk about that? Can you verbalize that? Is there any way you can talk about that on this podcast about what that feeling is like to go through all of this training, to earn that doctor, to get that MBA, and then to walk into a hospital and either have a patient or someone, nothing's wrong with being a nurse, but just, kind of just assume that you're a nurse. Like, talk to us about that. How does that feel? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, what this may sound really unfortunate is that sometimes I've kind of gotten to the point where I expected, which I'm hoping that in a couple of years that doesn't even happen. So when I go into a room, I always say, hello, my name is Dr. Amber Robbins. Even when I say that, it doesn't really matter. Some people still don't, resonate with that. I honestly try to compartmentalize and say, okay, this may be because our society isn't used to seeing as many doctors who are female, but that's changing, as Dr. Loom said. And so I honestly had to get like a tough skin and say, okay, it is what it is. They will see that I'm their doctor by the great care that I try to provide for every patient, and that patient and doctor relationship will grow. And then that I will be the one to help change their mindset for them to see that, women doctors are really, really, I'm biased. We're really,
well, there's a study that says that the outcomes from women doctors are better than the male counterparts, right? So
yes,
right.
How do you feel about that?
You asking me or Dr. Loom?
Oh,
I'll pass it along to you, Dr. Loom. Why don't you go first?
So, first to comment on the first point you talked about, you asked about whether we've experienced any type of situations where maybe we were disregarded as the physician.
Right.
And my point to that is, what's so good about medical training is it develops a strong sense of personal identity because of the resilience that it requires. So I think for me personally, it does not affect me, honestly. I don't lose sleep over it at all. I've learned, like Dr. Robin said, I've learned to realize that it's really, bottom line, it's my choice. Like, I get to determine what my patient thinks about me. And so if I walk into the room and I'm disregarded, it's based off of the quality of the care that I'm going to offer, or the way that I present myself to them, that I can help change their mindset towards their approach to me. And it has always worked in my favor when I do it that way.
So you look at it as an opportunity then?
It is a great opportunity. I love educating my patients. I love giving them a different side to what they're used to. I work in a rural area. I work in rural Kentucky. And so it's been a pleasure to be a part of that process. And it's never been one that has caused me any kind of distraught or anything like that. It's been a great opportunity for education for my patients, exposure for my patients. And at the end of the day, they typically always are very grateful, and they're typically always are very apologetic and willing to continue to see me. So I think this is an opportunity for us women, an opportunity for us minorities that are in challenging disciplines to use it as a reason to shine and to give a different narrative for what, maybe our predecessors had experienced.
Well, thank you for answering both, Dr. Robbins and Dr. Luma. I appreciate that because, on this show, I really want to not only just highlight, the great job that you all are doing, but also at the same time, I want the audience to take something from this. And from this, it seems as though you both look at it as an opportunity for empowerment, an opportunity to change, an opportunity to kind of change the narrative on, you're being relegated to, being thought of as a nurse. So I appreciate that because there are people who are listening and they're like, man, I go through this situation all the time. How do I handle it? How do you all handle it? So thank you for that. So I want to ask you all, obviously there's some things in the book, and obviously I can glean from this interview that are more systematic issues, which can make it very difficult, systematic or institutionalized, whichever way you want to look at it. What are some ways, and I hate to put you on the spot, but what are some ways that you think this can change from the thought process of how women in medicine are thought of? Do you think this is more of like a systematic, like a AAMC thing needs to change, or a top-down approach? Or do you think this is something from an individual physician that we can change? Just the way how men perceive women in medicine, or even just in general? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'll comment first, if that's okay. So my thought on that is there's always some type of social change that occurs first before you get maybe a political change, in quotes. So our stories, and the point of this book really is to bring attention to these issues. I do believe, though, that one of the greatest markers for change would be when we have more physicians that are lobbying on a grand scale for issues that are particular to physicians, whether it's on Capitol Hill, whether it's within their local state organizations, or even with using media. Because though this is a book, it's a social issue, that we're talking about social issues in a more social platform. But I believe that with sparking that conversation, we're drawing attention to things that, maybe no one is crying wolf about. And it will spark both personal change if it's an individual reading the book, but at the same time, we hope that this book would go into medical schools, it would go into residency programs, ACGME can get a hold of it. And so people can start looking into, hey, what are the maternity laws for women in general across the country, or for women in medicine? Are we taking good care of them to that regard? Is that, what do we have in place, and how can we make it better? Just like the duty hour rules came in place, I'm sure it took years and years and years of, a physician well-being talks and burnout and different things like that as to why duty hours became restricted after, only God knows how many years of, physicians working overtime. So I think that this book is just going to fit into that space where it's a social message, but it would become the framework or the groundwork for someone to use it as a political message, or it would help individuals improve their personal lives by understanding other people's experiences and gaining some kind of encouragement from it.
Love it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what we have to do, especially with the book is for women in white coats, but just in general, is really come together and talk about our stories, because I think that's the thing that was missing. Like, we talk a lot in our different groups, but we haven't individually organized something. And so I think that's what we're trying to do, having women being more comfortable about talking about these things. I know even at our book launch, one of the attendees said, oh, this feels like a support group that I've been missing and wanting. And that was one of our colleagues in medicine who didn't have the opportunity to talk about different things that she's been experiencing. So I think the book, more so lends to that social movement, like Dr. Luma was saying. And I think it also helps with us organizing together to see that this is a problem, and that we have great opportunities for change in medicine. And by doing that, it gives a platform, it gives a foundation for the actual change to happen. Because a lot of times you try to do the top-down approach and you don't necessarily have the people in place to implement those things. What we're trying to do is get as many women as we can involved in this movement, so that when it is time to do that top-down approach, we have people who can really say, hey, yeah, I'm a part of this movement. I'm a part of this, what we're trying to do to change the face of medicine, and that it'll actually happen. Because, we have a lot of guidelines and a lot of things that go on top down that you don't necessarily see the effect of it down the line.
Love it. Love it. So I know, I actually hate this next question. There's a lot of questions I hate, but when you ask them though, they're great though, right? So, you guys are just coming off, launching this book, and it's getting a lot of fanfare. I know you've been on other podcasts talking about this, but what's next? What's the next thing? Like, is the next thing maybe you're talking about a movement? Is the next thing like a conference? Is the next thing like chapter 2 or volume 2?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now is we are revamping our website, so womeninwhitecoats.com, and we're relaunching it, and we'll
put that link in the show notes.
Yeah, we're having other females in healthcare talk about their different experiences. So we're doing that, and then also we're having authors who are in the book having book signings all over the country. All of our authors are from literally the Northeast to the West Coast. Okay. So we're having different things, and some that are coming up in California, in Georgia, in Cincinnati. So we're having those. So keep a lookout for that. And also, if you're interested in just getting more details, you can go to our Facebook and Instagram group, the Chronicles of Women in White Coats. You'll be able to see the information there. We also are talking about retreats, conferences. So it kind of goes, we're a very organic group where it's growing on its own. And we're just excited about where this book is going, because I don't think any of us expected so many people really, buying into us. We had the kind of imposter syndrome, I guess, a little bit.
That's another hot word right there.
Yeah. And so,
real quick, how did you get over that? Or how did you and the rest of the authors get through that?
For me, I have people who, I've always had different ideas, and I have people thankfully around me who said, just do it. And that's what I just do it and see if other people are interested and just go for it. Dr. Lynn, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would say, faith and self-realization are the two biggest things that help me with dealing with that. And, because I think a lot of it's not real. Like, that's the truth about it. It's the sensation of feeling like a fraud when you really aren't. And self-realization goes a long way.
Love it. I love it. So look, we're getting close to the end of the interview. Let's do some quick fast fire questions. Y'all game?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right. So what's one thing y'all want people to get from this podcast?
That women, we have different stories. We come together and look what happens. Greatness.
I love it. Love it.
What I want everyone to get is that they are strong, they're powerful, and they can do it just like we did.
So what's one piece of technology, a life hack that y'all are using to make yourselves more productive?
Well, I'm using Trello.
Oh, yes. Love it.
Yeah. And that helps me organize my day and organize, the website that we're putting together, the blog and everything. So that I really like it. It's like a to-do list. You can put different things, different cards up to let you know, like when things are due, when, basically project management system.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I use the rudimentary form of that, which is my notes app in my phone. That's where I take notes all day. I jot little notes for myself on that.
So let's say you guys got an opportunity to go back and talk to yourselves as pre-med students or even as medical students. What kind of advice would you have given yourselves then?
Oh, I would have told myself to be a lot more open-minded, to entertain a lot more opportunity, especially when it came to clinical opportunity. I would have told myself to enjoy my life at that point, because it was going to get harder, and to not worry about every single thing. That's
a good point.
I would have said, girl, don't worry about it. Just live. Because I used to be a worrywart, like, oh, how I'm going to do this? Who's going to support me with this? How's it going to? And everything always worked out. So, my faith in God and the people who I have around me, it's like, girl, don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Okay. I want you all to finish this sentence. So it's hashtag I'm not just a doc. So Dr. Loom, why don't you go first?
Hashtag I'm just not a doc. I'm an encouraging doctor.
Okay. I like that. Dr. Amber Robbins, hashtag I'm not just a doc. I'm a...
Hashtag I'm not just a doc. I am a medical journalist, entrepreneur, family medicine doctor, / a lover of people,
guru,
/ media guru extraordinaire.
All right, you ran out of characters. Awesome. This is a really, really good interview. Dr. Amber Robbins, Dr. Nina Luma, please take another opportunity to tell them about the book, tell them where they can find the book, and let's go from there.
Yeah, so check us out. Like I said, we're on Facebook, but not only on Facebook and Instagram, you can find our book on Amazon.com. And again, the title is The Chronicles of Women in White Coats. And then you also can find us on Barnes & Nobles. Also, check out our website. It's www.womeninwhitecoats.com. You can get in contact with us. You can see different stories of other women who are experiencing amazing things in medicine and in healthcare in general. Keep in mind, we also have a dentist in the book. I didn't mention that, but we do have a dentist in the book.
Yeah, well, that's cool. We'll let that slide.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
No.
I'm teasing.
So you can check out the book there as well. You can purchase it there too. So yeah, keep a lookout for us. We're growing.
And we'll have a blog to where we'll be taking entries for the blog in the future. So just look out for the website, and we'll have a blog section as well.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Loom, Dr. Robbins, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on Docs Outside the Box.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Darko. It's a pleasure.